All right, so today we are going to be looking at Sunny Jetsun,
Oh, wow.
a poet
Okay.
who has like 28 books of poetry.
That's a lot of poetry.
It is.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see what we find when we kind of dig into all of this.
Yeah, I've looked at some of his stuff and he's definitely a force of nature, I would say.
Really?
Yeah, he's got a very unique style.
Mm-hmm.
He's got this mix of like really surreal imagery,
Yeah.
really bold social commentary,
Mm-hmm.
and then also he's got this kind of deeply personal exploration of just everything. Like love,
That's so-
spirituality, politics, like you name it. He's probably written a poem about it,
Wow.
and he's not afraid to use strong language.
So this is going to be an R-rated deep dive.
Oh, yeah, definitely R-rated.
Okay, good, because that's
Yeah.
what the listeners want.
Yeah, Sunny doesn't shy away from strong language or controversial topics,
Right.
like at all.
Yeah.
In fact, he kind of embraces them,
Mhm.
which is part of what makes his work so interesting, in my opinion. But underneath all that, the provocative language and the sometimes shocking imagery,
Yeah.
there's this really fascinating exploration of Romanticism and this deep respect for what he calls the feminine divine.
Okay, so we're talking about Sunny Jetsun, the poet he/him pronouns for our listener out there.
That's right.
Okay, cool. So let's unpack this whole feminine divine thing a little bit later. But first,
Sure.
you mentioned surrealism,
Yes.
and I've skimmed some of his work, and I got to ask, where do we even begin with that?
Yeah, it's a lot.
What does surrealism even look like when we're talking about Sunny Jetsun's poetry?
Well, think of like Salvador Dali,
Oh, okay.
but with words, like
Okay.
melting clocks and like distorted figures and, dreamscapes bleeding into reality.
Right.
All of that bizarre dreamlike imagery.
Uh-huh.
That's the essence of surrealism. And Sunny Jetsun doesn't just dip his toe in it.
Yeah.
He like cannonballs right in.
Oh, wow. Okay, so full immersion.
Full immersion, yeah.
Okay.
Head first.
I'm looking at some lines from 38 Cosmic Organic Orgasmic.pdf.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, things get pretty trippy pretty fast.
Oh, yeah.
My poetry is now zooming on arrows around the description of temples in Budgan City.
Wow.
What in the world does that even look like?
Right.
Arrows zooming around descriptions.
I know, it's so Sunny,
Yeah.
He throws these wild, unexpected images at you, and somehow they work. It's
Yeah.
like he's trying to, break open your mind and make you see the world in a totally new way.
Okay.
It's like looking at one of those collages
Right.
where it's like a Renaissance cherub riding a skateboard through a post-apocalyptic wasteland.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely making me think differently. I'll give it
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And then there's this other one. A children's asylum in a botanical garden.
Oh, yeah.
Is it sweet? Is it terrifying? I can't even tell.
Right.
It's like he throws all these random, often contradictory images together,
Yeah.
and somehow it creates this weirdly captivating tapestry.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. I think he forces you to confront the unexpected.
Okay.
He takes these seemingly disparate concepts
Uh-huh.
and he slams them together.
Okay.
And in that collision, something new is born.
All right.
Something disturbing, something beautiful, something that makes you question everything you thought you knew.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just plain funny.
Oh, absolutely.
I just cured myself of one of my greatest doubts.
Mm-hmm.
God, in all his divine wisdom, is making the ignorant human extinct.
That's a good one.
It's such a mic drop moment. Come on.
It's provocative, it's darkly humorous,
Yeah.
and yeah, kind of terrifying if you think about it too long.
Uh-huh.
But it also makes you question humanity's place in the grand scheme of things, which
Yeah.
is, I think, what Sunny is so good at doing.
Yeah.
Using surrealism, not just to shock, but to really make you think about the big questions,
Okay.
even if you don't want to.
So it's not just shock value for the sake of shock value.
Sure.
There's actual depth to it,
There's depth.
which is good.
Yeah.
Because honestly, after a while, shock for shock's sake just gets old.
I agree.
Yeah.
Totally.
Okay, so speaking of depth,
Yes.
let's dive into some of the more controversial themes that Sunny tackles head on,
Okay.
because he's not afraid to call out what he sees as injustice and corruption,
Oh, no.
especially when it comes to power structures.
He's got some strong opinions about those in power.
Oh, yeah, he does. And he's not afraid to let you know it.
No, he's not.
I mean, in this same poem, he says, politics today is synonymous with power, fear, war, propaganda, spipsy-ops, murder conspiracy, global devastation.
Wow.
It's a hell of an indictment.
It is. It reflects a deep cynicism, I would say, about the state of global politics.
Uh-huh.
And he doesn't stop there. He goes on to talk about media manipulation,
Right.
the concentration of wealth in the hands of the few,
Yeah.
the influence of elites, like the whole 9 yards.
Okay.
And he's not pulling any punches.
No, he's not.
You know, he's dropping names like Forbes lists the rich 1% in the top bloodline families.
He even throws out this line about 8 people control half the wealth of the entire planet.
Yeah.
Not sure how accurate that is, but you can't deny. It's a pretty powerful statement.
It is a powerful statement, and I think what's fascinating there is how he connects these massive global issues to the individual experience.
Okay.
You know, it's like he's saying that these systems of power, these imbalances, ultimately impact each and every one of us.
Right.
And in many cases benefit from our ignorance and inaction.
Okay.
You know?
So he's not just complaining.
Yeah.
He's trying to wake people up to the reality of the situation.
Exactly.
And he's doing it with, let's be honest, some pretty inflammatory language.
He is.
But you got to admit,
he's
tapping into some very real anxieties and concerns that many people share.
Absolutely.
So the question is, does Sunny's unflinching look at these issues resonate with you?
Good question.
And if so, how? That's something for our listener to ponder.
Yeah.
But before we go full doom and gloom, let's talk about a poem that really struck a chord with me.
Okay.
Krakatoa Sarong.
Oh, yeah.
Because amidst all the social commentary and the mind-bending surrealism, Sunny also writes about love.
He does.
And he writes about it beautifully.
Yes. Krakatoa Sarong, this is where we see Sunny's romanticism and his reverence for women really shine through.
Exactly.
Even the title itself is like a juxtaposition.
Oh, wow.
You've got Krakatoa the volcano,
right.
This powerful, destructive force of nature paired with Sarong, this symbol of feminine beauty and grace.
Okay.
It's almost like he's saying that women contain multitudes. You know, they can be both powerful and delicate, destructive and creative.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And the poem itself is just stunning.
It is.
There's this one part that I just have to read. Krakatoa Sarong, women of natural desires, lustrous fabled from spicy islands. Spending all the night be happy, enjoying East Indies treasures. Serenely she watches wonders of the divine. With grace and dignity, poise of whispers, instincts, gentle movements, laughter and joy. What do you want from nature's lovely queen, from these great people living here in peace?
Wow.
I mean, wow, just wow.
The imagery is so rich and evocative. You can almost feel the warmth of those Spice Islands, you know? See the beauty of these women, their independence.
Right.
It's like he's painting this portrait with words.
Yeah.
And it's a portrait of femininity in its purest form.
And he doesn't just focus on their physical beauty either.
Yeah.
He talks about their instincts, their gentle movements, their laughter and joy.
Right.
He sees them as these complete, complex beings connected to nature and radiating this kind of inner peace.
Yeah, like he sees women as these powerful, almost mythical beings.
Yeah, exactly.
Really interesting.
And, of course, being Sunny, he can't resist tying it back to the historical context.
Of course not.
In this case, the Spice Islands, which were notoriously exploited by colonizers.
Right.
And he draws this really interesting parallel between the exploitation of those lands and the historical abuse and mistreatment of women.
Yeah.
It's like he's saying that both have been subjected to violence, greed, and a desire for control.
That's a really good point.
Damn, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it makes sense.
It does.
And it's a statement that's still sadly relevant today.
Unfortunately, yes.
He's not just writing about love. He's writing about respect, about how the way we treat women is a reflection of our relationship with nature, with ourselves.
Yeah.
And with, I don't know, the very essence of life itself.
Exactly. And that's what makes Krakatoa Sarong so impactful.
Okay.
It's a love poem, yes, but it's also a call for something deeper.
Yeah.
A call for understanding, for connection.
Okay.
For honoring the feminine divine that he seems to believe is so vital to the health of our world.
Okay, so let's unpack this whole feminine divine thing a little more.
All right, let's do it.
Because it's an interesting concept.
It is.
I mean, what does he even mean by that?
Yeah, it's not a simple concept.
Right.
I think for Sunny, the feminine divine is about recognizing and honoring the creative, life-giving energy that he associates with women, with nature, with the universe itself.
So it's not necessarily about religion or worshiping goddesses?
No, not necessarily, although I could see how some people might interpret it that way.
Right.
But it's more about recognizing the power and importance of qualities that are traditionally considered feminine.
Okay.
Things like intuition, empathy, nurturing connection to nature.
Right.
Sunny seems to believe that these qualities are essential for a balanced and healthy world.
And he sees those qualities reflected in women.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And not just in the women he knows personally, but in women throughout history, in mythology, in the natural world.
Wow.
It's like he sees this thread of feminine energy running through everything.
That's pretty deep, man.
Yeah, it is.
And it definitely adds another layer of meaning to Krakatau Sarong.
Absolutely.
It's like he's saying that honoring women is about more than just being nice to your mom or girlfriend.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing and respecting this primal creative force that he sees as essential to life itself.
Exactly. And I think that ties into his critique of power structures, too.
Oh, how so?
You know, he seems to be saying that our current systems are out of balance.
Okay.
Too focused on dominance and control, and that we need to find a way to reconnect with the feminine,
Right.
with these more nurturing, life-giving qualities,
Okay.
in order to create a more just and sustainable world.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
It's like he's saying that we've become too disconnected from the natural world, right? From our own emotions, from the things that make us truly human,
Yeah.
and that we need to find a way to reclaim those things if we want to survive as a species.
I think that's a really insightful observation. And it's something that comes through in a lot of his work, not just Krakatau Sarong.
Okay.
You know, there's this sense of longing, this desire to reconnect with something deeper, something more authentic, something beyond the noise and chaos of modern life.
And he's not afraid to get pretty explicit about that longing either.
True.
I mean, some of his lines are downright erotic.
That's true, but I think it's important to remember that for Sunny, eroticism isn't just about physical pleasure.
Yeah.
It's about celebrating the beauty and power of the body.
Right.
About connecting with that primal life force that he sees embodied in women.
So it's not just about objectifying women or reducing them to sexual objects.
Definitely not. In fact, I think he's trying to do the opposite.
Right.
You know, he's trying to elevate women, to celebrate their sensuality and their power without shaming or objectifying them.
Which is pretty radical when you think about it.
It is.
I mean, we live in a culture where women are constantly bombarded with messages about how they should look,
Right.
how they should behave, how they should express their sexuality. And Sunny's basically saying, screw all that.
He is.
Yeah.
He's definitely challenging those norms.
Right.
And I think that's part of what makes his work so exciting. You know, he's not afraid to push boundaries, to explore the full spectrum of human experience, and to do it all with this raw, unfiltered honesty
Yeah.
that can be both exhilarating and unsettling.
Yeah. Definitely not for the faint of heart.
No.
But for those who are willing to go there,
Yeah.
to really engage with his work, it can be incredibly rewarding.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I think it's also important to remember that Sunny's work is constantly evolving.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you know, he's not afraid to experiment, to try new things, to push himself creatively.
So he's not just rehashing the same old themes over and over again?
No, not at all.
Okay.
He's constantly exploring new territory, both in terms of form and content.
Which is why even after 28 books, he still feels so fresh and relevant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's not resting on his laurels. He's still pushing himself, still searching, still trying to find new ways to express his unique vision of the world.
And that vision is, well, let's just say it's pretty expansive.
It is.
I mean, we've already talked about surrealism, social commentary, romanticism,
Yeah.
the feminine divine, but there's so much more to Sunny's work than that.
Oh, yeah. He touches on everything from spirituality and philosophy to science and technology.
Wow.
He writes about travel, about nature, about the human condition.
Okay.
It's like he's trying to capture the whole damn universe in his poetry.
And he does it all with this incredible sense of energy.
Yes.
This infectious enthusiasm that just leaps off the page. It's like he's saying, wake up, pay attention. There's so much beauty and wonder in this world, even in the midst of all the darkness and chaos.
You can really feel his passion in every line.
Yeah.
He's not just writing poetry, he's living it.
Wow.
And he's inviting us to join him on this wild, unpredictable journey of discovery.
And that journey includes a lot of strong language.
Oh.
And some pretty challenging ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't even talked about his views on religion or his exploration of altered states of consciousness.
Right. It's definitely a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of what makes Sunny's work so compelling.
Uh-huh.
You know, he's not afraid to tackle the big questions, the uncomfortable truths,
Right.
the things that most people would rather avoid.
And he does it all with this wicked sense of humor.
He does.
I mean, even when he's talking about some pretty heavy stuff, There's always a glint of mischief in his eye.
Yeah, he's definitely not your typical poet.
No, he's not.
He's a rebel, a provocateur, a visionary.
Okay.
And he's not afraid to make you laugh, even as he's making you think.
So for our listener out there who might be new to Sunny Jetsun's work,
Yeah.
what would you say is the most important thing to keep in mind when approaching his poetry?
I think the most important thing is to come to it with an open mind.
Yep. Okay.
You know, don't expect to understand everything right away.
Right.
Don't be afraid to be challenged, to be provoked, to be surprised.
And don't expect him to spoon-feed you any answers.
No.
He's not interested in telling you what to think.
No, not at all.
He's more interested in getting you to think for yourself.
Exactly. His poetry is an invitation, a challenge, a provocation.
Okay.
It's up to you to decide how you want to respond.
Well said.
Thank you.
So we've talked about Sunny's surrealism, his social commentary,
Mm-hmm.
his romanticism, his reverence for the feminine divine.
Right.
We talked about his use of strong language, his willingness to push boundaries, his constant evolution as an artist.
Yeah.
But what does it all add up to?
Well, like the question, isn't it?
Why does Sunny Jetsun matter?
Yeah.
Why should anyone care about his poetry?
I mean, there are a lot of poets out there.
Right.
Why should Sunny Jetsun stand out?
Exactly.
Why him? I think it's because he's not just writing about ideas, he's wrestling with them. You know, he's not afraid to get messy, to contradict himself, to change his mind.
Okay.
He's a seeker, a questioner, a truth teller.
Yeah, he's not trying to present himself as some kind of guru with all the answers.
Right.
He's more like a fellow traveler.
Yeah.
Stumbling along the past, trying to make sense of it all,
Uh-huh.
and inviting us along for the ride.
And it's a wild ride for sure.
Yeah.
But it's also a deeply human one.
Okay.
He writes about love loss, joy, pain, doubt, hope,
Right.
all the things that make us who we are.
He's definitely not afraid to be vulnerable,
No.
to show his scars.
Right.
And I think that's what makes his work so relatable,
Yeah.
even when he's talking about some pretty out there concepts.
Absolutely. He reminds us that it's okay to not have all the answers.
Yeah.
That it's okay to doubt, to question, to struggle. In
Right.
fact, those struggles are what make us human.
And he reminds us that there's beauty to be found in those struggles.
Yes.
In the messy, imperfect reality of being alive.
Exactly. He helps us see the world with fresh eyes,
Okay.
to appreciate the small moments, the unexpected connections, the things that we often take for granted.
And he does it all with this incredible sense of playfulness.
Yes.
This willingness to experiment with language, to break the rules, to have fun with it.
It's like he's saying, don't take it all so seriously. Let's play with these ideas, these words, these images. Let's see where they take us.
And sometimes they take us to some pretty unexpected places.
That's the beauty of it. You never know what you're going to find when you open one of his books. It could be a line that makes you laugh, a line that makes you cry, a line that changes the way you see the world.
So for our listener out there, if you're looking for poetry that is both challenging and rewarding,
Yeah,
that will make you think and feel in equal measure,
absolutely.
then I highly recommend checking out Sunny Jetsun's work.
You won't regret it. Just be prepared for a wild ride.
And maybe have a dictionary handy.
And a sense of humor.
And an open mind.
Most importantly, an open mind.
Well, I think that about wraps up our deep dive into the world of Sunny Jetsun.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us on this wild R-rated journey.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep embracing the beautiful messiness of life.
Yeah, I think that's what makes Sunny so special. He's
Right.
like really grappling with these big ideas.
Yeah.
Not just, presenting them in this neat little package.
Right, like he's actually in the trenches.
Yeah, exactly. He's down in the dirt,
Okay.
getting his hands dirty.
So it's not just like an intellectual exercise for him.
No, not at all. It's like an existential struggle,
Got it. Which I guess makes sense given some of the stuff he's writing about.
Right, and I think that's what makes his work so powerful, because you can feel that struggle in every line.
Yeah. It's not just theoretical for him?
No, it's personal.
Okay.
It's real.
And that rawness, that realness comes through in his poetry.
It does, and I think that's why people connect with it.
Yeah, even if they don't agree with everything he says.
Right, because it's authentic.
Exactly.
That's honest.
It's like he's saying, hey, this is what I'm thinking about. This is what I'm struggling with.
Yeah.
Come struggle with me.
Exactly, and I think that's really refreshing.
It is.
In a world where everyone's trying to present this perfect, curated image of themselves.
Right. It's like he's giving us permission to be messy, to be imperfect.
Absolutely, and to embrace that messiness.
To find the beauty in it.
Yeah, because there is beauty in it.
That's a really good point.
Thanks.
I mean, we all have our struggles, right?
We do.
We all have our doubts and fears and insecurities.
It's part of being human.
And I think Sunny's poetry reminds us of that.
It does, and it reminds us that we're not alone in those struggles.
Yeah.
That other people are going through the same things.
Right. So it's like a shared experience.
Yeah, a sense of community.
Okay, I like that.
And I think that's ultimately what makes Sunny's work so valuable.
Okay.
It connects us to something bigger than ourselves.
To each other.
To each other. To the world around us.
To the mystery of existence.
Exactly, to the big questions that we all grapple with.
So it's not just about pretty words on a page.
No, it's about life.
About living.
About experiencing the world in all its messy glory.
And finding meaning in that messiness.
Yep, absolutely.
Well said.
Thank you.
So for our listener out there who's ready to dive into the... Any final words of advice?
Just be open to the experience.
Okay.
Don't try to force it.
Right.
Just let the words wash over you.
Let them take you where they want to take you.
Exactly, and see what happens.
Well, I think that about wraps up our deep dive into the world of Sunny Jetsun.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us on this wild, R-rated journey.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep embracing the beautiful messiness of life.